love that new feature.
All right. Well, welcome, Skippy. Everybody who's listening, thanks for joining in. But Skippy, welcome. Thanks for being here. We're excited to talk and ask a couple questions, get to know you a little bit as a founder. Um, that's sort of what we're going to do for the next 20 minutes or so, just unpack a little bit of where you're coming from and what you're working on and what you're building. So if you don't mind, just jumping right in, do you mind sharing a little bit of sort of who you are, where you're coming from, a little bit of your background and journey? I know it's somewhat unique, and so I'm excited to get it out there. But yeah, tell us about some of your story.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, and genuinely thanks for having me in the program. This has been amazing. It really has. He didn't tell me to say that or anything. Um, I was born in Chicago, grew up in Chicago. I currently live in Aspen, Colorado, so I'm just downtown right now. Um, I have been involved in public service for the greater portion of my life. Like I was just always raised that with great opportunity comes great responsibility, and we have the opportunity to serve other people. And so I've kind of run the gamut, right? I've been an unpaid intern, I've been a staffer, I've been a campaign manager on a statewide race at 23. I've burnt out and dropped out of the system because it's toxic and gross, and it is. Um, and then I very unexpectedly got back involved when I moved back to Aspen, Colorado at the hyper local level, as an activist and organizer, passing ballot initiatives, creating local citizen commissions, working on voter participation, and ultimately becoming an elected official, which I am currently here in Aspen as a member of our city council. Um, yeah, is that a good like little summation or
I think that's
background?
good, and I know it like tees up what you're up to and what you're doing. So maybe like just let that natural segue of what are you working on now, and yeah, I mean, I think the why will become apparent, but what are you working on, and like how do you bridge that journey with sort of this entrepreneurial endeavor that you've undertaken?
Totally. So I'm building a company called Aritatum, which delivers proven tools of wellness and mental health to elected officials of integrity and conscience so that we can overcome a system set up for us to fail and frankly to fail you, which is where we are right now. As Andrew just nicely teed off, it totally comes from my personal journey, right? Like I know this is going to be a weird thing to hear, but I'm an elected official and a human being. I know it's very strange, and I'm a human being that's struggled, right? I've dealt with obesity, right? Like I lost 72 pounds at one point. I've dealt with addiction. Luckily, 10 years past the last time that was a really acute worry. I've dealt with anxiety, with stress. I mean, I've basically done every dumb thing you can do. Um, it took me 15 years to trace that back to its root source in my childhood. And we don't need to get into all that. But along the way, I have collected through really the sheer luck of my network and my privilege and my choice, a series of systems of approaches to life that have allowed me to not just survive, but to thrive most days. Some days aren't so thriving. Uh, and at each of those moments, I expected to change my life. I needed to change my life. What I didn't anticipate is that those same tools, they are political power tools, right? They are what let people who are there to change the system, who are fought every day, inside, outside, in the press, publicly, in the grocery store. Those are the things that are going to let them sustain, connect, maintain, and overcome for us. And so that's where this project comes from.
I love it. It's the common, personally lived experience, but it's a very uncommon experience coming from that elected official government. There are a lot of people in civil service and politics, but you've taken the leap. You've lived through these ups and these downs. So the first thing that I'm really keen to unpack about sort of the journey, now that we've got the what and the sort of who you are on the table, is when did you know that you wanted to go build this thing?
Yeah.
Where was the moment of conviction for you? Did it feel like something? Was it obvious? Like how and when and what was conviction like, where you went from former Skippy the not founder to Skippy the founder? Like, how did that transition happen?
Well, let me tell you a very uncommon tale of 2020. This episode was born in COVID. Yeah, so I'm like working 100 hours a week out of my 320 square foot studio, and Charlie says 120 hours. No, it's not true. I do sleep. You work when you dream. You're the only person that can do that. Hi, Charlie. That's an occupational hazard. um, I'm working these like crazy long hours because of COVID in my job, but I also have another full-time job because my elected job does not pay the rent. It doesn't pay a third of the rent, let alone food in Aspen, Colorado. So to subsidize my public service habit, I run a vacation rental company, and that's frankly been a devil's bargain, right? That's what I used to run a nonprofit in the entrepreneurship space, but when I decided to be in elected office, I found out that you just can't do it. Like the income does not allow for that. And so this was the financial engine that allowed me to serve. Well, I took a big pay cut during COVID, and it was beautiful, frankly, because it pointed out to me how truly soulless that job is, how valuable my time is, and here how irreplaceable my time is. And so I resolved to find a way to align my vocation with my avocation and focus on my life's mission, which is shifting political culture with every minute of my day. And that's where it began. I got conviction after doing 2 6-week sprints by design. One, to do a deep dive into shifting political culture. There's 4 pillars on which I believe we do that. Which one did I want to work on? Turned out connecting politics and wellness was the one. Dig in more if you want, but we got 20 minutes. And then I spent the next 6 weeks just basically interviewing, right? Talking to people across the political and non-political spectrum who I really trust. Mentors, staffers, other elected officials, to be like, is there any there? And they were like, yeah, there's some fucking diamonds here. Can I say fuck? I said fuck. There's some fucking diamonds here. And I was like, great. And during those conversations, that's when I got introduced to Rahul and Day One. But it was really after that initial validation point from those people that I had the conviction of, okay, I'm going to find a way to do this.
I love it. I love that. I'm kind of here just like calling it out for the folks. So you're hearing what you're hearing, but Skippy, I love that you were both intentional about it, but you also listened, right? Like you asked the questions. That's what it has to be. Far too often people ask questions, but they hear what they want to hear, right? And I've seen you work through Day One, and you've been very open to which way do you need to go based on the problem, the context, the environment. So I think that's super important, even from the zeroist stage where you're just getting over the hump yourself. So it's been this COVID year intense for all of us in a lot of different ways. Not necessarily, you're relatively fresh into this. I can say that because you got a long way to go, right? We're still in the beginning. But what's a learning that you've either had or something you've had to learn? Like what's a learning curve you've had to go up that you've realized, oh man, I'm becoming better at this. That's, I'm doing it a lot. Like it was unexpected, whether expected or unexpected. What's something that you as a founder now have had to learn and make part of your arsenal as you go do this thing?
I think the single most valuable thing, and I'm not even going to say learned, but embodied, understood, implemented during the Day One process, is to focus on the next step, not the step 8 down the road. I'm such a planner, and I've tried other startups before that have failed, and I see now in retrospect, like I was always trying to deliver the giant vision on Day One, and I can see now how that failed to attract the momentum it needed to work. And I knew that that was something I needed to improve on, and it was a function that I wanted Day One to force me into. But I only understood it cognitively. Like I didn't really get it. And now doing it, being provided the tools, the framework, the calendar. I can't live without a calendar. It has cemented its efficacy in a way that I hope I don't forget about, because it's been really helpful.
Oh, that's so real. I mean, even what you said about how you've learned this, like you can intellectually get it. There's every book is out there. Somebody has said, you can't plan too far ahead. Like you don't even know what those next steps are until you learn it, experiment it, ship something. But you just don't know it, right? I think that's a fundamental reality that if I'm going to get super meta, right, to just build on your point, to make a point, it's that entrepreneurship is this thing that you can't learn until you experience it. And I don't know if anyone tries to teach it in school. It's very hard to learn in other environments, right? So I imagine you probably have a dozen other things that you've also learned, because I just know that you have been chopping a lot of wood and making a lot of progress. That would have been a good answer to this next question, but maybe I'll just ask it anyway and see if there's a different thing you can put on the table, which is for another sort of early stage founder who might be one half step behind you, right? Again, you're early, but somebody's even earlier. What's like a piece of advice or takeaway aside from like paying attention? So that's why I said you almost answered this question already, but what's a takeaway that you would give some learned advice and wisdom to somebody? Wisdom might be too strong, but what's something that you're taking away from this part of the journey that you would like to you could pass along to somebody else, aside from the one that you just got into, which I think is a great one, but we'll push into another one because I know you have them. Are we breaking up a little? All right, I lost you there, but now I think I got you back. Do you have the question? What's like a challenge or a takeaway that you would share, something you've overcome with somebody who's coming up, a new entrepreneur?
I think the biggest challenges that I have faced thus far are my own self-doubt, honestly. I have days where I'm like on fire and I'm like, I know exactly what I need to do. I'm going to do it. And I have other days where I am like, who am I to be doing this? Like, do I have any idea what I'm talking about? Should I even be here? Am I going to be able to rise to this? And so I think just combating the ulterior voices in my head is honestly the most difficult part of this.
I totally feel you. It's not that it's not an external force here. It's not competition. It's not learning how to code, right? Like those will be problems at some point, right? Hiring a person, somebody not wanting to fund you. But yeah, for now it's our own mindsets. It's so different. So I have one last question for you, which kind of brings it back to sort of what you're doing today now and where you are. I want to kind of make this as real as possible for folks, which is where could what's something that you're looking to get help with right now? That's both like a pop the
That's
hood
so
and let
easy.
people know what you're working on, as well as like put an ask out there. This will
No,
air in a
that's
couple weeks, so it's maybe not tomorrow, but like what's happening on the ground for you, Skippy? How could people be
okay.
helpful? Yeah, you got it.
All right, I'm gonna answer this two ways. One in like the very literal way, and then the other in this is gonna air in 2 weeks, and I'll need an ask then way. So, what am I asking for help right now? I literally posted an ask into our Slack the like 10 seconds before this interview, which is I'm getting ready to launch my MVP. I'm building out 4 30-minute micro workshops in the 4 areas that elected officials struggle the most in their roles, with 4 like world-class expert coaches. I shouldn't say coaches, teachers, experts, different areas. And I've never built an online course. So my question was like, who has done this? And if I'm using Zoom, you can answer me now maybe. Can I, from the presenter side, view both the slides and the notes at the same time, while simultaneously having the audience see both the slide and me or the expert as the presenter? No idea. Can I do that? If so, how? If not, what other platforms do I need to build on? Right? So I have no idea. So just happened seconds ago. Great example of how that's helpful. And send me the answer offline if you know.
I'll shoot you some thoughts. I've thought about,
If
I
you're
haven't done
watching
this,
this in
but
2 weeks, welcome to the future. Hopefully we haven't all lit on fire. I have probably just announced, I would love that. So for future watchers, we probably just announced those 4 courses, right? They're designed for elected officials serving in elected office, from school board to the US Senate. They are in mood and mindset, time and productivity, connection and network, and communication and empathy. If you have an elected official in your life who could use some support, who could use some lessons, who could level up their performance by helping themselves, please send them to aretatum.com, ARETEDOM.com. I can't spell my name. I hope I got that right. And have them sign up, or have them watch it, or just share it into their Twitter channel. It's also at Aretatum on Twitter.
awesome. We had a little lag in the video, but I heard it perfectly. There's just a little lag. So, but Skippy, that was awesome. That was my last question for you. The last way I'll round it out is that was real. Thanks for sharing those asks. You're just in the thick of it, and that's what I love. You're not. This isn't some glamorous thing. You're looking for customers. You're looking for tools. This is what happens, entrepreneurs. And I love that you're just sharing your journey with us. So I really appreciate you spending some time this afternoon. Excited for your story to be out there and for others to be inspired and just kind of see what it's like and to see people doing it. So thank you for spending time with us. This has been a really fun session.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate
Awesome.
you. Truly.
Let's do this.